Hey everybody, this is Jackie Luqman.
And I'm Abdul Shahid Luqman.
And welcome to another episode of Live in Luqman Nation, Coffee, Current Events, and Politics. This is what?
Well, it's the most dangerous show on social media. I thought you was going to bring that in, but
I do always bring that in.
Yeah, most dangerous show on social media. We'd like to welcome our Facebook audience finally. And we want to give a nice shout out and a very appreciative shout out to our Patreon supporters, because we were able to upgrade some of our equipment. So because of that, we are able to finally stream on YouTube and Facebook, that we haven't been able to do for a while. So we're glad to have our Facebook audiences who couldn't join us on YouTube. We're glad to have you guys back. And we'd like to always welcome our YouTube viewers. And if you're new to Coffee, Current Events, and Politics or Luqman Nation, we just say welcome. And you'll see why we're the most dangerous show on social media. So Jackie, so what's going on for the day?
So, I mean, what else is there to talk about other than Bill Cosby?
Oh, definitely Bill.
Creepy Pill Cosby. That's what we should have called it. Creepy Pill Cosby. Crazy Brett Kavanaugh.
Right.
And the courts of public opinion and the real courts. This whole issue of rape culture and white supremacy and racism, as it pertains to black men and as it pertains to white men and class, has all played out over the past 3 days?
Yeah, about
pretty
3
much.
days.
I mean, well, not just the past 3 days, but it's all come to a head over the past 3 days. So look, let's not waste any time. Let's get into this.
Right.
Okay. Cause we want to start with talking about Cosby, Bill Cosby. I think we've criticized Cosby on this show before.
Yeah, we have.
We don't lionize people here. We don't hold people up unless, somebody seriously died in the struggle for black liberation and was truly just about that life. That we don't lionize people, and even those people, we recognize that they're human and they're going to do some stuff and say some stuff that we don't agree with.
Right.
But there is nobody that we put on a pedestal that when they commit acts that are harmful to other people, that we're not going to call those people out.
Exactly.
So when Bill Cosby was running around in 2005, I guess.
Right.
And he made his infamous pound cake speech.
Yes.
I think that was around 2005.
Right.
That's when, honestly, I really started to truly just look at Bill Cosby like very differently from the respect I had for him. When not just starting with the Cosby Show, because people don't understand how long Bill Cosby has been in Hollywood.
And he had and the thing of it is that the Cosby Show that we always associate. The show that we always associate with the Cosby Show is actually the second Cosby Show. He had a Cosby Show in the 70s.
He did.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it was two different Cosby shows, but he is mainly known, for the Cosby Show, which was probably his most successful show during the 1980s, where he played Dr. Huxtable.
He was Dr. Huxtable.
Right. He had that perfect black family.
Right. But my respect for him and the image that he portrayed, the positive image that he portrayed of black family life, it really started to kind of annoy me. Even with the Cosby Show as it dragged on, and after a while it was like, okay, these people and black people really did start to criticize the Cosby Show because of this, because American society was using the Cosby Show as like this this benchmark for what black people were supposed to aspire to. Like if you weren't a doctor, if your family didn't consist of two high achieving black professionals with some beautiful kids who were going off to college, one of them could be kind of messed up maybe one of them could maybe have academic struggles, and the other one, it would be okay if the other one was a little bit of a hippie and a free spirit. But as long as they married well,
right,
and everything worked out all right, and nobody had real problems, like the Cosby Show was like the Leave It to Beaver. They were the cleavers of the black community.
I mean, that's a good way to describe them. But one of the biggest issues, and I think the reason why black people, for the most part, and I think this fed into Cosby's hostility towards poor blacks, if I may indulge me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what happened is the fact that the backlash that a lot of poor black people had towards the Huxtables wasn't lost on Cosby. It wasn't lost on the cast members, and the reason why that a large section of poor blacks had such a reaction towards the Cosby, because first of all, we understood that that it wasn't that easy to be the Huxtables, number one.
Right.
And the Huxtables, one of the greatest harms that the Bill Cosby Show did, and I understand it was fantasy, I understand it was escapism, and and it probably wasn't set up to deal with some of the more raw realities that a lot of us had to deal with. But what the Cosby Show did was it basically ignored the role of racism.
Right.
In a way that oppresses black people. All you had to do, and I'm glad you said it, Jackie, all you had to do was get your education, make the right choices, delay having babies for a minute until you got your degree. You basically had to, every decision you made in life had to be the right ones. And this is what the Huxtables kind of like promoted. Like,
right.
You had to make, and even their so-called, even the black people on there, like the cousin who came from, the one who played on in Living Single.
Oh yeah.
Even when it was supposed to be bad, some of them made bad choices. It wasn't really that bad, It was like, that's all she did, or that's all they did, So it was a very benign look. I put it this way: it was a very dishonest look at the realities of black life in America. Not to say that there aren't black people who had lived like the Huxtables, but even those blacks had suffered some racism or encountered racism at one point or another. So I think that black America, poor black America, saw that and said, "Oh, wait a minute. There's no way that I know the struggle I go through, and I know the struggle that my family go through, and and I think it was a little bit of pushback against that. I think that pushback fed into Cosby's hostile attitude. He always had it, but I think it enraged him in a way that he wasn't embraced wholly, or his show wasn't embraced wholly by the black masses. This thing is historical, and we're going to get into this other thing. But one of the things that I wanted to really stress is that Bill Cosby is, and we said this on our show before, Bill Cosby is one of a long list of the black wealthy elite who who harbored this disdain for the black masses. I mean, we were talking about Stand From the Beginning.
Yeah.
And even Kendi X.
Ibram X.
Kendi.
Ibram X. Kendi.
Dr. Ibram X. Kendi, the author of the book, he even chronicles in his book about even as far back as slavery, how some free blacks, and even after and during Reconstruction, how those who kind of got, kind of did a little bit better than the rest of the suddenly freed blacks, that it was that they looked down on them, and and we seen this even with Du Bois with the Talented Tenth.
Yep.
And so it was always this thing of, and we even say it a lot now with, oh, don't embarrass me.
Yeah.
So it was this relationship of, the black masses being an embarrassment. I think Cosby's anger was the fact that, just like a lot of people who is in his class, black people who are in his class, they see the black masses as an embarrassment.
Yes.
Yes. And what really bothered me so much about Cosby is the fact that he made money off of pathologizing us. He went around with Dr. Alvin Toussaint, who helped him with this book. And when he was making, now this is what gets me, because y'all heard me say this on the show before,
right,
that I witnessed one of those the pound cake speech.
You were there.
I was
at
there.
One of those speeches.
I was there when he came to Newark, New Jersey on his pound cake tour. And he
didn't call it the pound cake tour, though. But that's what we call it.
That's what we call it. Well, on his lecture tour, or his scorn tour, and I remember how he called our women fat and ugly. I remember how he said that our kids were stupid. I remember when he sat up here and talked, and I mean, just basically, and it seemed like he enjoyed the type of pain he was inflicting on us with his words. And so it didn't surprise me later on, when all this stuff about him started to come out, that this man could be extremely cruel, because we witnessed his cruelty during the speech, during his lecture tour.
Okay, so hold on. So say what you said again about what Cosby said about black women in particular.
Oh, look, I was there. He said, "Look at you women." He said, "You're fat. You don't eat right. You're fat. And your kids are fat, you don't cook right," and this, he was just going on and on and on. He said, look at you. And I'm looking around, and I'm looking at, the faces of the people around me. Oh, we wasn't liking that shit at all. But again, the black community, and Cosby has been served by this so many times by the black community. This need of us to protect our icons. Barack Obama, who I personally feel held the same hostility towards poor blacks, protected by the black community, who did not want to see any harm come to him, in spite of the fact that he hated us or disliked us or held us in contempt. Cosby held us in contempt. Yeah. But they both was protected and insulated by the same black community that they held in contempt. So Cosby now, some years later, now all of a sudden now he is still enjoying, for the most part, that need of the black community that he holds such contempt for, the need for the black community to not only protect him but make excuses for obvious perverted behavior on his part.
Right. Because understand what happened during this 2005 pound cake speech. Now we've posted links to the speech, to articles about the speech, to a breakdown of the speech, and how so much of what he said were blatant lies that he told about black people. But see, it was the kind of stuff that conservative white people love to hear coming from a black person. So they used Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby made money, like you said. He went on speaking tours. He went on Fox News. This was only 13 years ago.
That's it.
So I remember watching Bill Cosby on a Fox News program. I think it might have been Bill O'Reilly. I can't remember it, but I know it was Fox News. And I remember watching Bill Cosby repeat that hateful garbage, that hateful white supremacist garbage about poor black people being lazy and criminal-minded and ignorant and having too many babies out of wedlock and having all these babies by all these different men. He said that crap on Fox News, and white people ate it up. Racist white people used Bill Cosby's words to validate their racism toward us, and that's what they've kind of always done with these what do we call them, the black gatekeepers of white supremacy.
Right, because the reason why they love stuff like that, because it gets the system, it gets America and its systems off the hook.
Exactly. See, the focus is our behavior instead of white supremacy and the system in this country. Right. But even though Cosby did this and black folks were genuinely hurt, I remember having conversations with people who I criticized Cosby about, and they cussed me out before. But when these comments were publicized, then some of the very same people were like, dang, that was kind of, Cosby was kind of harsh. But, he's just telling us what we need to hear to improve ourselves. And, Cosby is one of us. And he loves us, and he just wants to see us do better. So even then, we were protecting somebody who was literally throwing us under the bus. Listen here, y'all. Bill Cosby would not have spit on a black person, a poor black person, if they were on fire. Do you understand me? Bill Cosby had a serious, very real contempt for poor black people. I mean, he might as well have said it. He said every white supremacist, hateful, racist thing about poor black people in public, with the exception of calling us the N-word. I mean, he really did. But black people, because we understand our struggle in this country, and that even people like Bill Cosby can catch it from the very same system, we protected that man. We protected that man even though he seriously shat on us.
Well, like I said before, I mean, Barack Obama, again, you know, the same way with Barack Obama. I mean, you know, now that it came out that while he was beating up on us, he was raping women, you know. And so, again, you know, this stuff came. And it was because of his contempt for us and his disconnect from his own behavior. His disconnect from his own behavior, where he felt that he was so safe and that his secret was so hidden that he went on this tour beating up on us until an obscure comedian who because I mean, look, there were a lot of people, black people in the entertainment industry who could not stand Bill Cosby. I mean, remember Eddie Murphy, when his first stand-up, Eddie Murphy mentioned it, Dave Chappelle mentioned it. A lot of these comedians who looked up to Bill Cosby, when they got to know how he is, they was like, you know what, fuck Bill Cosby. So what happened is the fact that, but even though what Bill Cosby was doing was an open secret, a lot of those entertainers never mentioned it publicly until one. And that's when obscure comedian, I call him obscure because I ain't never heard of him until then.
I had not heard of him either.
Right, Hannibal Buress. You know, basically, you know, put him on blast, and you know, it's a true saying that we say a lot. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
Woo,
you know what I mean?
Come on now.
So you know, so when you're around here talking about, you know, why did you know, when you're around here beating up on those who have already been beaten up on enough, you know, sooner or later, man, you know, those sharks are going to come back and circle and come and get you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what happened. But what happened is that we found out, that you was worse than the fat black women that you talked about up in Seth Boyden apartments up in Newark. You was worse than the dude that had the pound cake, because he might have had the pound cake and stole the Coca-Cola, but he didn't give nobody no Quaaludes and was starting and was raping women. So you know, so now, and if you want to call this karma or whatever you want to call it, now you're going to be sharing a jail cell with the same people that you had such contempt for.
How about that? How about that for irony? How about that for karma? Here's a man who had become beloved by especially white conservative racist America, because he told black people to pull our pants up and speak better English, and we wouldn't get shot in the head by the police if we weren't stealing Coca-Cola and pound cake. He said that. That's the whole context of the pound cake statement. Bill Cosby said that we have so many babies out of wedlock and we don't know how to raise our babies, that when our babies grow up to be old enough to do stuff, they go and steal Coca-Cola or soda and pound cake, and then they get shot in the head by the police, and then we have a nerve to go and protest when that happens, but we don't ask why they were stealing pound cake and Coca. That's what he said. That is what the man said. So it's ironic and just full of all kinds of wonderful karma that the man who said that black people, poor black people, were having so many babies at such a young age that we were probably having sex with our grandparents. And we would never know. We needed a DNA test to find out who you were sleeping with. That's what that man said about poor black folks. The very same poor black people that he pathologized and blamed for letting down the civil rights movement, well, that's who he's sharing a cell with now. And let me tell you the problem that we're having. Let's explain the problem that we're having with this conversation about Bill Cosby, the rapist now.
The convicted rapist.
The convicted rapist right now. And some black folks in the community who don't seem to know when and how to draw the line as to where, as to who we should protect and when we should stop protecting some Negroes. Mm-hmm. Bill Cosby is one of those people who we should have stopped protecting him a long time ago, but some of us didn't because we know how hard we can catch it. Even those ones who sit in glass houses and throw stones, we understand that when they fall hard.
Right.
So we try to soften but see, this fall he did to himself. And let me see if I can share with you what I am talking about. Let's see if this works. Ooh, look at that. I think it's gonna.
Oh, okay.
So let's start with this. Jemele Hill, this is from Ebony Magazine. I'm so excited this works. I don't know what to do with myself right now. I'm so tickled. So Jemele Hill, our favorite, I don't know, I think Jemele might be our second favorite sports columnist, because she's not even just that too. Dave Zirin is definitely our favorite. And if you haven't watched our interview with Dave Zirin from a couple weeks ago,
right,
you need to go on that page. You need to go on our YouTube page and check that out. That was great, and we're going to have him on again. But Jemele Hill calls out people using race to defend Bill Cosby. This is in Ebony Magazine. Says sports journalist Jemele Hill, formerly of ESPN, slammed people using racial disparity to protest Bill Cosby's sexual assault case sentencing on Tuesday. Cosby was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison for drugging and sexually assaulting Andrea Constand in 2004.
Wow.
Let's stick a pin in it right there.
Right.
People are sitting here talking about how in the world are they going to convict a man for something that he did 35 years ago. This conviction was not for something he did 35 years ago.
No, not at all.
No, this conviction was for something he did in 2004. This is 13 years ago. Bill Cosby is 81 years old.
Right.
How old was he 13 years ago? So this excuse about the decrepit old man, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
He should have played the crazy old man.
He should have kept playing the crazy. Well, he actually tried to keep playing the crazy old man, but it actually didn't work. So anyway, Jemele Hill says several people. The Ebony article says several people compared the disgraced comedian's prison time to white celebrities who have evaded the court system after being accused of sexual misconduct, including Harvey Weinstein. And this is the meme that a lot of people have been sharing. And I got into it with some folks about this meme and how inaccurate and ridiculous it is. Because it is inaccurate.
Right.
I'll explain to you why in a minute. But let me show you what Jemele Hill said. In a tweet, Hill acknowledged the racial imbalance in our criminal justice system. She reacted on Twitter, writing, "Your position cannot be, because Cosby is black, he should get the right to rape without repercussions like a white dude. Trash position." And that is a trash position. It's trashy. It's dumpster on fire, full of hot, rotting garbage, ashy trash can ass position for black people to take, for anybody to take, but for black people especially. You don't get to rape me and get away with it just because you black.
Right.
You do not. But see, that type of mentality explains R. Kelly. Okay, I'm going to move on. Before her criticism, the former ESPN host acknowledged how Cosby's legacy influenced her life. "Sure, I mourn the idea of Cosby as in the TV show that made me want to attend a black college and heightened the importance of a black family," Hill revealed. However, that she escaped a rape attempt and that her mother is a rape survivor. So she said, "I have negative fucks about what happens to Cosby." She doesn't just have no fucks to give. She has a negative amount of fucks.
Right.
Yeah, she's got a fucks deficit to give. And you know what? So do I. I absolutely have negative 1,000 fucks to give Bill Cosby and his but let me go back.
I mean, I had it since Norp. Before I even knew about these this raping thing about him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he turned me off after I heard him when he spoke to us in North.
Yeah, and once I saw him on Fox News, I was like, nope, done. But let me address this meme and explain to people why this meme is inaccurate. This man right here, hope you can see the cursor. This man has been charged, tried, convicted, and sentenced for rape. Actually, for sexual assault. Not only was he charged, tried, convicted, and sentenced, but he confessed to doing it. And that's what we're going to talk about in just a couple of seconds, because Bill Cosby actually did confess to raping women. He did. It is in his deposition. That's why he got convicted.
Exactly.
That is the evidence that was presented at his trial that convicted him. His own words.
And you know all of this misinformation that's going around. Like there was one person on Facebook who was saying, I don't understand why Bill Cosby is going to jail for getting some booty 30 years ago. You know, folks, you are on the internet. We say this all the time on the show.
All the time.
You are on the internet. I mean, it only takes a couple of minutes to research something before you get up there and make yourself look like an ass in front of everybody. I mean, we went up there, and I mean, we had to basically, Jackie and I have been doing this all day. It's like, no, he wasn't convicted for all the 60 women that accused him. He was convicted for one, and that was because it was within the statute of limitations.
Right.
Now, let's look at this before you go into this, is the fact that the first attempt at getting him for this case, what was it, a hung jury?
Ended in a hung jury.
Yeah, I mean, he almost got away with it.
He did.
Right, he did get away with it until a new prosecution came along, wind up reopening the case, and they got him in a different way now. Right. And that was through this deposition.
And listen, if people, let me fix this camera because we're kind of, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, if people want to question the new prosecutor and the way this prosecutor went after Bill Cosby, and okay, fine, I think those are legitimate questions. I'm not a lawyer, but everybody knows, and forgive me for interrupting, but everybody knows that prosecutors, they all want to make names for themselves. They do.
I mean, it could have been a black prosecutor. To know that convicting Bill Cosby will make your career. You know what I mean? That's not racist. That's like, hey, look, I got OJ. That's going to make my career. I'm going to always be known as the person who brought down OJ. I'm going to always be known as the person that got Bill Cosby.
Or I'm going to always be known as the person who got Daniel Holzclaw.
Right,
what state was that
Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma, the cop who raped all those women. You know, I'm sure somebody would love to be known as the one who brings down one of the Bundys from the Bundy Ranch.
And there's someone that wants to be the one to get Donald Trump if it ever gets to it.
Trust me, somebody wants to be the one to bring down Donald Trump. Yep. Somebody wants to be the one to bring down Harvey Weinstein, or however you pronounce that rapist's name. But so yes, there is an element of race involved in this, in that Bill Cosby really was the black face of white supremacy. He thought he was rich enough to be able to play in the in the white old boys club.
Well, there is no way that racist America is going to call you their dad, which is really reminiscent of the old uncle of the plantation.
And see that they called him America's dad because they couldn't get away with calling him America's uncle.
Well, no, but it's the same thing. He's America's dad because he was looked at as a safe black man that was stripped of his sexuality. Mm-hmm. Now let's look at this. Black males in this country, I don't give a damn how old you are, is the fact that America accepts you when they neutered you first.
Oh, yeah.
So Cosby had to be neutered. And he was neutered it took him decades to get neutered, but he wound up being seen by let's say white America for the most part. The reason why he was he was bestowed this title of America's dad because he wasn't seen as a sexual threat like most of us black men are.
In the public eye now.
Well, of course, but in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
The vilification really is not the fact that he did what he did, but it's also the added vilification that Birth of a Nature, D.W. Griffith, all of those stereotypical sexual predator stereotypes of black men have now. It's like somebody like white America bit the fruit in the Garden of Eden. Their eyes got open and said, "Oh shit, Cosby, you just like the rest of them." You know what I mean? So what happens is that we got to understand when he was a black man and his staff, and that was one of the reasons why he was so arrogant. Because when white America bestows upon you that you're America's dad, not you know, they could have picked any other white famous male, but they bestowed it upon him because he was seen as not America's dad really, but as America's uncle. He lived up to that by doing what uncles do when they're trying to please their white masters. I'm going after them Negroes myself.
I'm gonna chastise the children too.
I'm going to show them that I could be just as tough on them as you could be tough on them, and I'm going to whip them in shape. Yes, indeed. You know,
sound familiar? Right. Obama's campaign speech to black people in New York City. Sound familiar?
Yep.
I mean, so yes, there are lots of elements of race in America in this case, but to say that Bill Cosby is in prison only because he is a black man in America, that's not true. And we're going to show you why in a minute. But let me go back to this meme real quick, because I really do need to explain why this is ridiculous. This man, like I said, charged, tried, convicted, confessed, convicted, and sentenced.
Right.
This man has 16 accusations of sexual assault against him. Hasn't been charged for any of them.
Right.
No charges. Nobody has brought charges against Donald Trump. Except there was one woman, and she dropped the case.
Yeah, she dropped the case. Yeah.
All right. Matt Lauer. Pervy NBC office dude apparently had some contraption in his office at NBC.
He had to trap the booty button.
Yeah, the dude had a button under his desk where he could lock the door when a pretty woman came into his office so she couldn't get out, so he could grope her and feel her up. Matt Lauer, fired from NBC. No one has filed charges against him.
That's the difference.
Charlie Sheen, serious drug problem, all kinds of other issues, did all kinds of things, accused of all kinds of things. No one has charged Charlie Sheen with anything. No one has brought charges against him. Bill O'Reilly, scum of the earth just because of who Bill O'Reilly is, but Bill O'Reilly is also accused of sexual assault. Multiple counts of sexual assault. But Bill O'Reilly has not been charged with anything.
No one pressed charges against him.
Thank you. Nobody's pressed charges against Bill O'Reilly. The only two people in this meme who have had charges filed against them are this guy who's in prison and this guy.
Who I think is going to prison.
Who we do believe is going to prison. Why do we think that? Because Harvey Weinstein is actually waiting for trial, waiting for his trial to start right now. Charges have been filed against him. He posted bail because, you know, he is rich. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why anybody thought he was going to spend a day in jail. And he's waiting for the trial. And we just read an article the other day that said he may even go to prison without a trial.
Right. Well, one of the things is that unlike Bill Cosby, who was convicted, and I know we're dealing with different states here. I think Harvey Weinstein is his case is in New York, and you know Pennsylvania is a Commonwealth, but still, Bill Cosby was convicted for one case. Mm-hmm. Harvey Weinstein is facing conviction for a couple of cases. Yeah. So you had like 2 or 3 women, actually formally pressed charges against Harvey Weinstein, which is going to make it difficult for him to be able to skate this out. Now, one of the positive things about Bill Cosby being convicted is that this whole Me Too outrage that really fueled the flames that got Cosby convicted is not going to die down any soon.
Yep.
Harvey Weinstein is just as much hated as Bill Cosby is when it comes to this.
Yes.
And so, trust me, they know that the eyes of the world is watching, and they also understand that, hey, if Harvey Weinstein gets out of this, first of all, if Harvey Weinstein gets out of it, it really damages the Me Too movement. And in the sense that, well, not the Me Too movement, it really poke even more holes in the fairness of the justice system.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's going to damage the credibility of the justice system to deal with this Me Too thing.
Right. And we're talking about damaging the credibility of the justice system that we already know is unjust when it comes to black people in general. But we also know is already unjust when it comes to how it handles rape cases.
Right.
It's going to... This case with Harvey Weinstein in particular is going to do for, and I don't want this to sound like a positive thing, I'm just making a correlation, I'm making a comparison. This case with Harvey Weinstein is going to do for rape victims and the advocacy of rape victims in the justice system what videotaping cops shooting unarmed black people has done for Black Lives Matter and the conversation about racial injustice in the... Do you see what I mean?
Right.
So it's not like people are sitting there. Harvey Weinstein is not... He hasn't escaped his punishment. He hasn't fully faced his punishment yet, only because he doesn't have a trial date yet. So let me go back to this meme real quick, and then we're going to go over to this other thing from this crazy woman. This meme right here, stop sharing this foolishness. Stop sharing it. This particular meme does not point to a racial issue.
Well, and then it seeks to elevate Bill Cosby as some martyr, which he isn't.
That is such a serious problem.
I mean,
because
this Negro is not Nelson Mandela.
No, and so let's get into why Bill Cosby is not a martyr. Let me close this so I can go to this other video. Let me get back to the front of this video. Whoops. I don't want to start it right now. This is the problem that we're having with some black people in this conversation about Bill Cosby, because too many black people think that he is a martyr.
And more specifically, a lot of black women.
A lot of it, and see that I'm struggling with y'all. I'm really struggling with my sisters right now, making excuses for this rapist, this not just a convicted rapist, but a confessed rapist. We're not making this up. There is a video, and this is just one of many videos, not just on YouTube, also on Facebook, probably some on Instagram, all over the place. Their Facebook page posts all over the place. People commenting on, and half of these people are women in defense of Bill Cosby. And they're making these kind of arguments. Let me...
oh, boy. Roll that bean footage.
Roll that disgusting bean footage. Let me...
Let's see. Stay here longer than 5 minutes or 2 minutes before they cut me off.
There we go.
So, I don't know. Look, I keep telling y'all go to the
story,
and I want to talk about black women this evening, right? I want to talk about black women that have taken the approach like Jamil Hill, I believe is her name. She's a sports journalist, right? And so she apparently has given her perspective, and she thinks people who think that Bill shouldn't be going to jail just because he's black, like our position is a trash position. So I want to clarify my position, right? I want to clarify that I'm not saying set rapists free. I don't think that's what any of us are saying. But we're going to discuss Bill in a little bit more detail this evening, but more so black women in this Me Too movement and why Jamil Hill even feels this way, right? She expressed that she has been sexually assaulted. She expressed that her mother has. So it seems to me that I'm sure 9 times out of 10 for most of the black women who have been sexually assaulted, their assaulter has probably been a black man, right? So when she sees Bill, it reminds her of who assaulted her and who assaulted her mother. So therefore, somehow she feels that she's getting justice or that he should be thrown away because because of the situations that have happened to them. So I want to talk about some facts in the Bill Cosby case. Is that all right with y'all? Because there's a lot of misinformation out there, right? So, and let me say what's up to everybody. I tried to go shout me out. So what's up, Kurt? Shout misconceived. It's it. Somebody heard it. People have just ran with that shit. Cosby case, first of all.
Sorry.
Now, I don't know if you guys watched Attorney Nicole Compton last night. She kind of, she kind of threw some facts in there about as far as the court system works. But I want to throw some facts out there about the Bill Cosby case. One of the biggest things that I've heard that is misconceived is somebody heard it. People have just ran with that shit, and nobody has any real truth, and they just keep saying it, and they haven't researched it themselves. And that would be the fact that people keep saying Bill Cosby admitted to raping the women. Right? Bill Cosby did not admit to raping women. He did not. So go back and read the deposition or whatever it is that it was that he spoke in. What he said is that he does admit to offering them drugs, right? So, like, you go over your friend's house and he like, yo, I got this Molly, you want to pop it? She like, yeah, let's pop it and let's do the damn thing. He's saying that he gave them drugs, but he's saying that he gave it to them and that they took the drugs because they wanted to take the drugs, right? So let's get that clear. Bill Cosby never said, I gave women drugs and I slipped it in their drink and they didn't know what the fuck they was drinking and I did this shit so I could rape them. He didn't say that. If he said that, right, then there would be no reason to go through trial because he would have been admitting to his guilt and he would have taken a damn plea bargain, right?
You know we got the damn deposition, right? you understand? See, this is the reason that we always, and we really needed to make sure we were able to do this, get our equipment upgraded and do this whole display screen thing for you, because we don't just talk about our opinion on this show. We give you the facts.
Yep. That's right. That's why we're the most dangerous show on social media.
So here she is on this, and I don't remember what her name was. We just saw that video.
Oh, it was Michelle X.
Okay, and she was a part of
Boyce Watkins'
Lord Jesus
posse.
And I'm telling you, this kind of stuff just makes Boyce Watkins look more like a clown than he already is, because you can't sit on your video and talk about people don't have facts when your facts are not correct yourself.
Well, let me take issue with one thing she said while you're looking that up. Mm-hmm. She, first of all, made an assumption that Jemele Hill took the position against Cosby like she did because her the person that allegedly tried to rape her was a black man. Jemele never said what nationality this man was.
Exactly.
First of all, she never said that. And to get on there and make that assumption without even talking to Jemele, to ask her why she felt that way, really just, I mean, you know, who would make an argument like this? Oh, well, she probably said that about Cosby because the person who tried to rape her was you know, was more likely a black man. She never said that it was a black man. And then to say that you thought it was a black man really questions me how you really feel about us black men. To say that just because she said that she was almost allegedly raped, that, oh, well, it had to be a black male.
But then when she went on to say that the reason Jemele Hill has the opinion that she does is that Jemele Hill sees Bill Cosby and he must remind her of the man who tried to rape her and the man who raped her mother. So she just feels like she's getting some kind of justice by throwing Cosby away. That's petty. That's childish. It's nasty.
And it's not based in fact.
It is not.
She never spoke to Jemele.
She's sitting here talking about people not having facts, but she is making an assumption about Jemele Hill's state of mind, her thoughts, and the reasons that she came to her conclusions without any actual facts herself. And that's the kind of that's just. But okay, let me not commit the very things I'm telling other people that did do. That was just wrong. That was just a wrong thing to do, man. And that was just real foul. It really was. But this is the actual deposition. Let me explain this deposition to you. It is 66 pages. It is an excerpt of 1,100 pages of the full deposition. The full deposition, all 1,100 pages, have not been released to the public. But somehow the New York Times, back in 2015, got a hold of this 66 pages. Now, apparently how that happened was the defense counsel and the prosecution, I think, were supposed to file some type of paperwork with the court that kept the documents sealed and confidential past this default 2-year period of time after the settlement of a case. I think the case was settled in 2013. Some case was settled in 2013. So at 2015, automatically the confidentiality clause of that case expired, and the documents were supposed to be automatically made public. Unless some paperwork was filed to keep that from happening. Apparently, there was no paperwork filed by the defense, by Cosby's attorney, to keep that from happening. So when somebody, I think it was either the Associated Press or the New York Times, requested a copy of the transcripts, of the deposition transcripts, there was no document in place to keep them from getting it. So the judge, Rubano or Rubino, whatever his name is, whatever you want to say about his motives as a judge, he said there was no legal reason for him to honor an informal agreement that was not formalized by court papers that should have been filed.
It wasn't done within the confines of the court system.
So he released the 66 pages of the deposition. That's where this comes from. So let's look at what Bill Cosby actually said, and I hope I have the right section, because this is a mess. This is a mess. Remember, this is just 66 pages out of 1,100 pages of deposition transcript. Ms. Troiani is Andrea Constand's attorney. Mm-hmm. All right? When you see the witness, that's Bill Cosby. And then when you see Mr. I think it's Mr. O'Connor, that's Bill Cosby's clown of an attorney. And yes, we're going to give you a copy, a link to this document so you can read through this stuff yourself. But I want to show you what Bill Cosby actually said about drugs and women and sex. Let me see. So the questions were asked about questions relating to Quaaludes. All right. After defendant testified that he obtained 7 prescriptions for Quaaludes, the following testimony was elicited. Is the question from Ms. Troiani. You gave them to other people. The answer from Bill Cosby was yes.
Yes.
Right there. Right there. Bill Cosby admits. Now, I don't even care that Quaaludes were illegal in the 70s, because she brings that up. And I don't care, because people do drugs and I don't care.
Right. Well, I mean, and they were illegal to dispense them.
They were illegal to dispense.
Yeah, I mean,
he was not a doctor. He wasn't a pharmacist. He couldn't dispense them. He had no business giving them to other people. He was Bill Cosby. He ain't need to be selling no drugs. Mm-hmm. He didn't have to be hustling for $5 a pill. Look. So he admitted he was giving them to other people. The question here, you gave those drugs to other people knowing that this is his attorney, Mr. O'Connor, trying to limit these questions where Cosby just said he gave these drugs to other people. O'Connor's trying to limit these questions to not other people that Cosby said he gave the drugs to, but just one person in particular.
Yeah, I think in the deposition we'll see where it's that person referred to as Jane Doe.
Right. Now, the person that they're talking about here is actually not Andrea Constand.
Exactly.
This is another woman who accused Bill Cosby of drugging and raping her. It's not Andrea Constand. All right? Here, you can see O'Connor's trying to get her to back off getting Cosby to say that he gave the drugs to other people in multiples.
Because that would open him up to, a much bigger legal problem.
Exactly. And he said he did it. He said, yes, I gave the drugs to other people. Ms. Troiani said he said other people. He did say other people.
Wait.
So here's the illegal part. I don't care whether it was illegal or not. Okay, that's bad enough. But all right, but that's not the point. Did you get another prescription for Quaaludes from another doctor after that time? This is in the 70s. Cosby says no. Here's where it gets really creepy as hell. Who are the people that you gave the Quaaludes to? Cosby's attorney is trying to keep her from getting Cosby to explain who were the people in plural that Cosby gave these Quaaludes to. Cosby already admitted that he gave those drugs to other people. Now, the genie's out of the bottle, can't put it back in. His attorney's trying to put the genie back in the bottle by saying, keep the questions to the Jane Does. I'm not going beyond it, but his client already did.
Right.
So, Ms. Troiani, when you got the Quaaludes, was it in your mind that you were going to use these Quaaludes for young women that you wanted to have sex with?
Yes.
The answer from Bill Cosby was yes. Listen. And you'll see further, his attorney doesn't allow her to ask Cosby if he had given the Quaaludes to other young women without their knowledge. Even though further down in the 66 pages, she does bring up the case of this person who said that Cosby offered her coffee that turned out to be laced with something that knocked her out. And when she came to, she drank the coffee. She said that he told her that he made her coffee to help her relax, her favorite drink. He had a habit of doing that. Beverly Johnson said he did that.
Right.
Andrea Constance said he did that. Other people said he would make them a cappuccino or coffee to help relax you. And the next thing you know, they're waking up hours later not knowing what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, Bill Cosby had raped them. All right? This is the deposition. There's a whole lot of other stuff. Oh, this is the one. Let me make sure I get here. O'Connor is objecting to the question being asked of Cosby, did he ever give any of the young women Quaaludes without their knowledge? Again, Cosby already said he gave the drugs to people, multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
Cosby's attorney objects to the question, wants her to restrict the question to just Jane Does.
No, one Jane Doe.
Well, he says Jane Does. He says, Cosby's attorney actually says Jane Does in the plural repeatedly, when he really was trying to say just this one person. But like I said, he's a clown, and he was running his mouth, grandstanding in the deposition, and he made it just as bad for Cosby as Cosby made it for himself.
All right, so we got where Mr. O'Connor, he goes on, and because the prosecutor refuses to allow Mr. O'Connor to direct which way she should go, because Bill Cosby already made the mistake of making it plural himself. So then it goes down, and O'Connor, Bill Cosby comes in, and he tries to put the genie back in the bottle by saying, I misunderstood, woman meaning
this one particular woman.
Right, and not women. So that was really a clumsy attempt, and really a disingenuous attempt on the part of Cosby, not very convincing, of trying to put the genie back in the bottle. But like you said, it's already public record. It's out there. And so, no, you cannot take the eraser and go back in time and try to make it right.
Right. Now, let me explain why that is that particular portion of the deposition is so damning, and it completely destroys all this foolishness that people like this Michie X person says. Bill Cosby himself, in another section of this 1,100-page deposition, said that the reason he never took the Quaaludes,
No, he never did. No.
And Ms. Troiani asked him why he never took the Quaaludes. She asked him if he ever took the Quaaludes. He said he didn't. And I'll give you a copy of the LA Times article that these excerpts are published in. Cosby is asked if he ever took the Quaaludes. He said he never did. He was asked, why didn't you ever take the Quaaludes? He said, because they make me sleepy. So he's asked...
Hard to rape when you're sleepy.
Well, it's hard for you to rape when you're sleepy.
It's hard for him to rape, yeah.
But that's why you give other people pills to make them sleepy, so it's easier for you to have sex with them. See, if the argument follows that Bill Cosby didn't need to drug women to get sex, and that women were just throwing the booty at him, why did he need to give women drugs that he knew made him sleepy? And he even talked about he knew the Quaaludes made him sleepy because he had had surgery, and he was prescribed Quaaludes, and they made him sleepy, and he stopped taking them because he wanted to stay awake. Bill Cosby knew the effect these drugs would have on the women he gave them, and he admitted in this deposition that we just read to you that he gave these drugs to women so that he could have sex with them. That is taking away a woman's consent, and that, damn it, is rape. It's rape. Any way you cut it. Now, you can't sit there and say that Bill Cosby didn't admit to raping those women when in black and white he did. He absolutely did. And this deposition, not just this 66 pages, but all 1,100 pages of this filthy deposition that is filled with the arrogant, disgusting, condescending, paternalistic, predatory comments and just sexually deviant commentary and thoughts from Bill Cosby. This is what got him convicted. His own words. So we'll provide a link to this deposition to you and a link to the LA Times article that a large section of the excerpts of the larger deposition are published in, as well as the New York Times article that broke the story. Because there's a lot more than this. But for anybody who has not read this 66 pages, to say that Bill Cosby did not admit to raping anyone, they're lying. And for a bunch of women to say that, I really question what's going on in y'all's minds. So,
well, even if you don't give a shit about that, and apparently there's people out there that don't care about the proof that you just did. I mean, a lot of times, we got people that we've seen that have this primal urge, this primal need to defend Cosby in the black community. Like you said, Beverly Johnson stated that she didn't want to be responsible for bringing a successful black man down, which is why she never said anything about it. But this is the thing that I really want to stress to those in the black community who, and some in the white community too, because I don't want to leave them out, who feel that Cosby is somehow deserving of your support in this. And let me just say this, that there are legitimate people who are locked away in America's prisons, who are political prisoners, who have resisted this political system, who have been martyrs because they went up against this political system, who remain rotting in prison, and nobody is trying to, and nobody is rallying around them.
That's right.
We still got members of MOVE who just came home after 40 years.
Yeah.
And we have members of MOVE who are still locked behind bars. You know, we have Black Panthers who've been in prison since the 60s.
And not just prison, but solitary confinement.
Solitary, which is prison in a prison. Right. So what I'm saying is that, you know, Cosby is not. There are more worthy people in the Black community that we can rally around. That we can, and this goes for white people too, because I've read some comments from white people who feel that, you know, Bill Cosby been railroaded and all this stuff. There are plenty of times we have posted stories and articles about Black men and women who are wrongfully incarcerated. You know, and it don't get a peep out of most of y'all. Yep. You know what I mean? It's like, oh well, okay.
Sad emoji.
Right. So they spent 40 years in prison. They didn't do it all. So that's sad. Or they spent, and then not only have they been robbed of the years out their life, then the state even adds more injury by not even giving them anything for it. They don't even get compensated for it most of the time, because the states protect themselves with these tort laws and all these other type of laws, because the state knows it's unjust. Exactly. So what it does is it puts these legal apparatuses in order to protect themselves from the victims they know they're going to create, and especially the victims amongst us that are of the oppressed class that they know that they're going to create. So in order to protect themselves, protect the wealth and everything else that they gained illegally, then they just go and say, well, okay, yeah, we made a mistake, but don't think you're going to get compensated for it. And I mean, you know, if that is so hard to fathom, all you got to do is just think they still haven't compensated us for hundreds of years of slavery and Jim Crow and all this other thing. So I mean, again, Bill Cosby is not Martin Luther King. Bill Cosby is not Nelson Mandela. He's not Malcolm X. He is not the poster child for the injustices of the criminal justice system when it comes to Black people. He's not. And we need to stop making them like that. And we need to stop as a community showing the world how ignorant we can be.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? I've said this earlier before. We need to stop showing the world how ignorant we can be. Because no matter how you feel about whether Bill Cosby got railroaded or not, ain't none of y'all ready to get on no bus and go over to Pennsylvania and raise any hell over there to get him out. You're not. So stop it. You're not. You're not ready to grab a posse, go over there and do like the BLA did when they broke Assata Shakur out of East Jersey State Prison, Rawway. You know, and you know, y'all ain't going to get no posse together and go in there and break Bill out. You know what I mean? First of all, man, he can't see, so you know something. You know. So I mean, he can't see. So I mean, so he gonna need a care. He just gonna slow y'all up. So y'all gonna go in there and bust into the prison, go in there and get him, and he can't see.
Run, Bill.
Right. Run. Yeah, he can't see. And so what happened is he just gonna slow y'all up, and guess what? All y'all doing time. You know what I mean?
So, for breaking out a rapist.
Yeah. So stop with this thing. Now, I mean, you feel all opinions are valid. You know, we're not trying to say you can't feel what you feel, but people, come on, you're going to back Bill Cosby and talk and act like you know that he's the poster child for the injustice of the criminal justice system, but you don't give two shits about a man that spent 30 years in jail and found out he was innocent and don't get no compensation, and you move on to the next story, or you find out that a Black woman didn't get any justice in her rape case, and you move on to the next story. You know what I mean? So, you know, this selective outrage we got to stop. There are better ways that we can stand up to racial oppression. There are better ways that we can stand up to the injustice of the criminal justice system without having to use Bill Cosby as an example. Bill Cosby got there just like he told us in Newark, that we are where we are because of the decisions we made. That's what he said.
Is that what he said?
He said that we refuse to go to school. We refuse to educate ourselves. We refuse to marry, and our women refuse to marry and have children with respectable men and all this stuff. And, you know, instead of baking pound cake, we steal it. And, you know, and all this other kind. So the thing of it is that what's good for the goose is good for the fucking gander. If we are in the position that we are in life, because we made choices, well then motherfucker, you are going to state prison because of the choices that you made. And that's my position on it.
Yo, Bill, got some pound cake for you, nigga.
Now, I'm told. Now, this is another thing, too. You know, before we move on to Kavanaugh, because I know we ain't got a lot of time. Let me tell you something. People say, because I've seen this thing on in some of the news stories where they were talking about, Bill Cosby. Now, one of the things about it is you can tell the way a man is by the way his family treat him.
Oh.
Now, let me tell you something. Bill got sentenced, and this is the only time that I feel some sympathy for Bill. And I shared this with you yesterday. Mm-hmm. Bill got sentenced, and his children weren't there.
That's right.
Camille wasn't there. Mm-hmm. There was nobody from his family there. Man's 81 years old, legally blind. I think he had like press, what they call a public relations person, and the pseudo Nation of Islam guy who tried to compare him to Jesus Christ.
That man to Jesus.
But this is the only problem that I have with that, is the fact that I feel that the family, I understand the family's embarrassment. I understand that the family, I'm sure, don't like the things that's coming down, that came down to where it is. Mm-hmm. But I felt that they should have faced the music too, and especially Camille. Mm-hmm. Now I might catch some heat for this shit, but I'm gonna say it. Camille been married to that man for about 60 years. Right? Maybe a little longer.
Yeah.
And there has been celebrities who came out and said that Camille had known all along what Cosby was doing. You don't be with a man that long. You don't be married to a man that long and not know what he's really like. You don't. So there was a I'm gonna look the other way type thing, and I understand love is blind and all this stuff, but damn it to hell, if it was an open secret in Hollywood, damn it to hell, it was an open secret in your house.
I think that's a great point. That's a great point. That's a great point. That is, people have really been talking about, and we really are gonna move off this topic because we got to talk about Kavanaugh and the other courts. But this thing with black people and Bill Cosby and this court of public opinion among black people talking about he's innocent and he's been railroaded and he's a martyr. No, that verdict is incorrect. That verdict is absolutely wrong. And we believe from what we have shown you that the facts overturn that verdict. The facts invalidate that verdict. But that's a great point to end this discussion on. People have been talking about Bill Cosby and his sexual perversion and his drugging women and raping women for years in Hollywood. This, like you said, it was an open secret in Hollywood. If you search on YouTube, what's her name? Richard Pryor's ex-wife.
I think her name was Janet something. I can't remember.
Yeah, but was that her? Who was that his ex-wife who was who told the story on the YouTube video about Bill Cosby? Yeah. So search for that video of Richard Pryor's ex-wife talking about Bill Cosby.
And trust me, now Richard Pryor's ex-wife, just like Richard, they were open. They were straight up with theirs. Mm-hmm. This woman admitted she took parts in threesomes. She got high. She was part of the swing, because Richard Pryor, he was into that fast lifestyle. So and Richard Pryor never made no secret. So the thing of it is that even this woman said that Bill Cosby was a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean,
and that was her exact words.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's partying, and there's everybody consensually partying, and everybody goes along with what everybody wants to. But then there's the shit that Bill Cosby did that made him a piece of shit. Even among the people who partied like, So if everybody in Hollywood who knew Bill Cosby and was connected with Bill Cosby, I just popped in my head. Go to Facebook and search for a post from Marsha Warfield.
I just want to make sure, Charlotte, Charlotte, if you got any link or something with that, please share that with us. Charlotte Nichols said that one of the victims was at Bill's house and Camille was there. Camille went to bed and Bill drugged her.
Yeah,
I think I heard about that.
I think that is alluded to in one of these articles or somewhere. But if you got a link for that, please pop that in there. We would appreciate it. But it just popped into my mind right before you said that. On Facebook, you also need to search for a post from I Marsha Warfield. You need to search for that post
from Night Court.
Night Court, for those of you who are old enough to remember Night Court and Marsha, you need to search for that post about Marsha Warfield and what she said about Bill Cosby, what she learned about Bill Cosby, and just search for that post. But if his behavior, go ahead.
I was going to say that because I do want to get off this. I just want to say real quickly that people say, well, Bill got to do at least. Now let's at least get the sentence right, because I've heard all kind of stuff too. Mm-hmm. Bill was sentenced to 3 to 10 years. He we was at church yesterday, and one of the brothers who at our church was under the assumption that Bill Cosby was going to some Camp Fed type thing.
No.
And I understand, because DC doesn't have a state prison, so a lot of guys from DC don't know about state prisons. They because they go to the feds. Mm-hmm. But I had to let him know. We had to let him know that no, Cosby is going to a state prison. So the guy said, "Oh well, if he's going to state prison, it's probably going to be some easy camp." No, this is the state prison that was built to replace Graterford. And because I'm from the area, I know the reputation of Graterford. And those guys in Graterford are being transferred to this prison right now, in the new prison that they built to replace Graterford. Trust me, it's not an easy camp. But at the same time, Cosby is going to be in protective custody. He's not going to be. It's not Oz. It's not going to be Oz for him.
Right.
He's going to be in protective custody. Cosby's going to have to take some of that money that he got. He's going to have to spread it around, because prison is a self-contained, corrupt shithole, which means that it doesn't have to answer to anybody outside the walls of prison. The warden, the administrators, and all of them, they run it the way they see fit. Because once they put you in prison, nobody gives a fuck about you, and society don't give a fuck about you. So basically, the people who run those prisons, they do what they want to do with it. So Cosby is going to be able to live a little bit better than a lot of those guys he's going to be surrounded with, only based on the fact that people want access to his money, and they're going to make ways where he's going to get some creature comforts. He ain't going to be living like Pablo Escobar, but he's going to get some creature comforts. But I also believe, and ended on this point, is that he isn't going to go home. Because what's happening is that, and I got to make this point, Cosby fell into the trap that so many black people fall into when they get to his level. Black people, they get to his level. You forget that you're black. And what happens is that Birth of the Nation basically had shown us, outside of recorded history, shown us that America is very unforgiving when black men sexually assault white women. I don't give a damn if Constance was a lesbian. She a white woman. And America is very unforgiving, has always been unforgiving. OJ, look how they hounded OJ down because they accused OJ of killing Nicole. Had OJ would have killed his black first wife, then he might have done some time, but he wouldn't have been the pariah that he is now. So America has always had a special hatred for black men that they deem has molested white womanhood. And so because of that, 3 years, Cosby got to be 84, maybe 85 when he's up for parole, if he lives that long. That man, that back number 10, and that's why they did it like that, y'all. He got to do the minimum of 3. But that 10 is so they can fuck with his ass. And when he goes up after 3 years of parole, trust me, they're not letting him out. Because a lot of these women are going to come, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen. I'm saying what I think is going to happen. They're going to come to these hearings like they did Manson all them years, and they're going to sit up there and cry and all this other kind of stuff and say they still have nightmares of Cosby and the pills and all this stuff. And what's going to happen is they're going to make an example out of him. Now, that part, I feel that is more of a racial component than anything else, that they're going to do him like they did OJ. But at the same time, I personally feel that Cosby's going to die in prison. I think that he didn't see this coming. I think that he felt that it wasn't going to end this way, and I think the fact that he is like a fish out of water in an environment that he has never known is the fact that he's just going to just give up, and I wouldn't be surprised within those 3 years that Cosby's going to die in that prison.
Wow, and that really is the I don't even want to call it a tragedy, but it's like that's like the worst irony of this whole thing. Like you said, you know, he spent so much of his life moralizing the behavior of poor black people, but he didn't check his own self. And now, like he said would be happening to us, oh, you know, the white people are laughing at us. That's what he said to poor black people. Yeah. White people are laughing at us. Now they're laughing at you, Bill. So, let's talk about this.
Now we're going to the other side of the track.
3-ring circus of a hearing of Brett Kavanaugh. Gee, this was,
an emotional he said, she said.
I thought that Brett was accidentally going to kill me.
Playing out for the world to see.
We mean no ill will.
Seriously?
Christine Blasey Ford up first, describing an alleged sexual assault during a house party decades ago, identifying her attacker as Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh.
I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth to stop me from yelling.
She says Kavanaugh drunkenly attacked her as a friend watched.
The uproarious laughter between the two, and they're having fun at my expense.
Kavanaugh denying it all, at some points on the verge of tears, others defiant.
I was not at the party described by Dr. Ford. This confirmation process has become a national disgrace.
How dare you deny me my right to be a Supreme Court justice, damn it!
Investigation.
I want to know what you want to do, Judge.
I'm innocent. I'm innocent of this charge.
Tensions on both sides reaching a boiling point.
You're looking for a fair process? You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
Now it's up to senators to decide who to believe. And hanging in the balance, a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. Kavanaugh said today that he may be voted down, but he will never quit. Blaine Alexander, NBC News, Washington.
Lord Jesus. This is the group of people Bill Cosby thought that he was a member of. This is the old boys club that Bill Cosby believed. Oops, let me stop that before that audio loops again, because I can't take hearing that dude cry. That's just ridiculous. This is the old boys club that Bill Cosby unfortunately thought that he was a member of and that would protect him. And true to form, one of the senators actually brought up Bill Cosby in relation to this bastard Brett Kavanaugh today. When asked about Kavanaugh in these hearings, I think it was Chuck Grassley, who said, well, you know, look, Brett Kavanaugh is no Bill Cosby. I just, okay, let me try to collect my thoughts, because this is a job interview. Let's get this clear. This is a job interview. And if you and I went for a job interview, first of all, we would have gotten a background check. So for people to believe that nobody knew about this man's shady ass history, you are ridiculously naive. I just don't understand how you think nobody knew that these allegations were floating around with this guy. And we just talked about how society treats women. Even some women treat women who accuse powerful people of rape. So you understand why women wouldn't really come out and say anything about this guy. Because for some of us, it is just easier, and I just said what I said. For some of us, it is just easier to get on with our lives than it is to go through the public scrutiny of the court of public opinion. And some of that coming from women. That's just the truth. Now, this Brett Kavanaugh business, these old white men and some of these old white women up in Congress, not all of them Republicans either, they were perfectly fine. They were perfectly fine with Brett Kavanaugh having this shady boys will be boys background that they all knew about. Dianne Feinstein had the letter talking about the charges, the allegations, I'm sorry, not charges, the allegations against this man. She had a letter outlining these allegations months ago. Months ago. They could have stopped this then. They could have called for an investigation into this man then. But they didn't. Because, see, all these people have an agenda. All of these people belong to this old boys club, this white supremacist old boys club, and some of those people are women. Let's just get that straight. But see, now, because of a whole lot of other factors that we don't even have time to go into tonight, Dianne Feinstein had to release that letter. I think because somebody came out and said, hey, we sent Dianne Feinstein a letter about this guy possibly raping somebody in high school. We don't understand why it wasn't released. She had to release the letter. She had to.
And, so, and just that point right there shows you how disingenuous the Democratic Party is. This is supposed to be the opposition. You know, this
resist what?
Yeah, exactly. This is supposed to be the resistance. Yet you hold a letter, which basically is the silver bullet to stop a Trump nomination to the Supreme Court, and you don't do anything with it.
And so Susan Rosenberg says Dr. Ford asked Dianne to keep it quiet. No. When you've got somebody who is, now I understand the wishes of the victim. But if you are a sitting congressman and you are confirming somebody to the Supreme Court of the United States who has already lied in his confirmation hearings about his involvement in acting on some documents that were stolen from the Democratic Party in Congress, not the DNC. No, we're not talking about those leaks. We're talking about when Kavanaugh was working for the Bush administration. And he said during his confirmation hearings that he had no knowledge of these documents that were stolen from the Democrats and used and released. And, I had no knowledge of that. And then emails were presented that proved that he actually did. Not only did he have knowledge in them, but he used them. This man has already proved himself to be a liar. He's got a horrible record on civil rights. He's got a horrible record on women's rights. And on workers' rights. And on workers' rights. So I understand that Dr. Ford wanted to keep this quiet, but this man, with all of this garbage and the lies and the lack of any kind of moral compass, is about to be confirmed to the Supreme Court of the United States for the rest of his damn life, deciding on laws that apply to you and me. No, we can't keep that. I'm an elected official, and you want me to keep quiet that this a moral monster doesn't need to be on the court? I'm sorry, sister, but I will pay for your therapy. But I gotta talk about this. I gotta bring this out.
Well, what I see is I see the closing of the casket on Kavanaugh.
I hope so.
Well, because now that you got 5 more accusers or something like that, there is no way. There is no way. Now you see Senator Graham, getting at him now, and see this also. You already have a faction of the Republican Party that's been resisting Trump.
Yeah, small, but yeah.
Yeah, but they've been resisting Trump, and I think that this guy's past and the fact that these accusers came up is really giving that faction of the Republican Party the ammunition to bury this guy. Yeah. Now, of course, you said to me earlier today that there's another nominee that Trump had that he wants to push through. We're not going to get under a Trump presidency the type of Supreme Court nominee. They're gonna elect some nut.
Yeah, some nuts. They're gonna appoint some whack job.
Some whack job is going to get appointed. This guy's done.
You know what? I think you might be right.
Yeah, this guy's done.
I am so not surprised by anything that happens in Washington anymore. And by Washington, I mean Capitol Hill, like less than 10 miles away from here. I'm so not surprised by anything that happens on Capitol Hill anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if he got confirmed anyway. But if he got confirmed anyway, let me explain something to y'all. Women, we should be burning shit down. I mean, seriously, if you serious about Me Too, I don't understand if he gets confirmed why we're not just setting stuff on fire around here, because
but this is the reason why he's not going to get confirmed. He's not going to see, one of the reason why he's not going to get confirmed is the fact that there is already the rumblings already the rumblings of a brewing rebellion in this country towards the establishment. True. And with Trump being at the helm of that, the fact that that this rebellion is fomenting, the fact that the Democrats are gaining steam, and not just the Democrats, the fact that there is a new breed of Democrats that is outside of the establishment of the party that is gaining traction. This is not lost on them, and they see this. The fact that if they push this guy through.
That might be the thing that tips the scale.
And trust me, these are not stupid people.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Especially because I think we forget that. We forget that, especially about Trump. Right? We forget that, Trump is despicable. He's an egomaniac. He's a narcissist. He's not an intellectual. He's not intelligent. But he's not stupid. He's sly. He's slick, right? But these people who were in Congress, a lot of these people were actually in Congress during the Anita Hill hearings, which is I just think that
which is the reason why the Democrats can't gloat, because during Anita Hill, Uncle Joe.
Oh, come on.
Uncle Joe, who was the lead Dem at that time, basically, man, disrespected Anita Hill on a lot of them. So, and at that time, that was taken as a racial thing because Anita Hill, being a black woman, it was seen at that time, and I think rightfully so, that her allegations weren't taken as seriously, but then that's over 20 years ago. I think that women have done women have come a long way with getting these type of things taken more seriously now.
Yeah.
And I think that if Anita Hill came through today, it would be a different outcome. But but the fact remains is that Democrats can't gloat on this. No. Because Dianne Feinstein was actually elected to Congress during that time on the Year of the Woman.
That's right. That's right. She was.
Yeah.
So I mean, if we understand our political history, and this is why we love this stuff, y'all. This is why we bring it up, because it's all connected. It's the same group of people making the same decisions about the same crappy people. You want to talk about, people today looking at Brett Kavanaugh and saying, "Oh my God, we can't elect a sexual predator to the Supreme Court." You already have one. His name is Clarence Thomas.
All right. Yep. That's right. I want to leave because I want to leave a couple minutes left.
Okay.
Because I just want to briefly talk about this United Nations.
Oh, yes.
Briefly. And trust me, it's going to be brief because I know y'all been with us enough, and we thank you for it. As y'all know, Trump went to the United Nations, and he was a major fucking embarrassment.
Oh, my God.
I didn't even elect this guy. But there is in me, as an American, yes I am. I'm an African in America. Mm-hmm. And because I love this country, whether I voted for the president or not, I want to see us well represented. I want to see the guy who got elected to lead us, be shown some type of respect. Whether I picked him or not, whether I agree with his politics or not, I would like for the guy to be up there and say, okay, I didn't like him. I didn't vote for him. I don't like his politics, but damn it to hell, he represented us kind of well,
Yeah.
Well, okay, this guy, Trump, he gets up there and he gets laughed at. It reminds me of when George Bush had the shoe thrown at him in Iraq.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Trump gets up there and he makes this claim that his administration, and this just shows you how detached these people are. He makes this claim that his administration in 2 years had done more than any other administration in history, and they laughed at his ass, and they should have laughed at his ass. Unlike his base, who he talks to, who unlike his base, you are actually talking to people who actually know something. You are talking to people who come from countries whose educational system surpasses ours. You are You are talking to people who, who are truly intellectuals on a lot of things, and that you're sitting here telling these folks that your administration has accomplished more than anything else. Now look. I could imagine me sitting in that audience saying, so you're telling me, Trump, that you've done more than Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who helped liberate the world from Nazism and fascism and stuff in the Great World War II. You're telling me that you've done more than that. You're telling me that you've done more than Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who pulled the country out of the Depression. You're telling me that you've done more than John F. Kennedy, who sent the man to the moon. You're telling me that you even done more than Ronald Reagan, who was responsible for dismantling the Berlin Wall and bringing down the what was then the Soviet Union, for helping to bring down the Soviet Union. So you're telling me that in 2 years that you did more than all. He should have got his dumb ass laughed at. And the thing of it is he sits up there and then in typical Trump style says, "Oh, I was expecting that response," and then turned around and said that he meant the joke. You know what I mean? Yes. So I mean, I was so embarrassed, and I got to say this for the course of time, and we're going to have another discussion about this, because I think that it's important that we as Americans analyze the message that Trump said to the United Nations. Yes. We need to analyze that, because this message that he had is basically Trump announcing to the world that the United States is entering into an age of fascism. Nationalist fascism. And we're going to talk about that. Yeah. But this thing here, when I looked at Trump, y'all, Trump embodied what America is today. Old, fat, like our infrastructure. Worn out. You know what I mean? His hairpiece looked like most of our bridges. Look like most of our bridges in need of a fucking update. I mean, he just embodied what we as a country have become. You know what I mean? Even when I looked at his face and stuff, I was like, worn out. That's our country, worn out. I'm looking at China, just finished building its first high-speed railway across this country. I mean, that shit looks beautiful. I mean, high-speed. And here we are. Bridges that's crumbling. With the type of wealth we had. And so, not only have we been looking at the decline of America for a long time, but folks, they laughed at Trump, because of that buffoonish statement he made. But trust and believe what he said after that, the world need to take notice, because what he said was the United States is not going to be about the globe anymore. And he had instructed other countries to go for their interests. But he said straight up, America's going to go for their interests. And what he's basically saying, and Jack, I'm glad that you reminded me yesterday about how that is that he was actually speaking to his base. Mm-hmm. Trump is taking American white nationalism to a new level on the global stage. And he announced that at the United Nations. And that's the reason why the United Nations, trust me, those in there who was listening, they're taking it seriously.
We covered a lot. And there's so much going on. I'm just going to leave the whole discussion right there, because that was a perfect point. I have to write that down. Tomorrow, white nationalism on the global stage.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the America's entering a new era, and that's the reason why I am not for all of this blind militarism. And we're going to get on that. We're going to talk about that on another show. The reason why history has shown us that blind patriotism, nationalism, and militarism has always been the perfect recipe for any nation's destruction. We've seen it throughout history. And if we don't back off this path that we're going down now, with those three ingredients: blind patriotism, nationalism, and militarism. We're going to wind up. I mean, history never loses, and so we don't back this up. And the only ones that can do anything about this, Jackie, is us. We're the only ones. The government. We have to make the government listen to us. And so we're going to be talking about this. We hope that you join us tomorrow. We're going to be on Loud and Clear.
Yes, we're going to, 4 o'clock? Our segment usually airs at 4 o'clock on Sputnik Radio on Loud and Clear. For those of you who are in the D.C. area, 105.1.
105.5.
105.5
in the DC
on your
area.
FM dial in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area on Sputnik Radio. Thank you again, you all, for your support and helping us upgrade our equipment. We didn't have one glitch tonight.
And that's all because of you guys.
All because of you and your support through Patreon. So listen, if you all like what we do here, if you enjoy the content, if you like hanging out with us, and if you get something from the information we share, if you're not a Patreon subscriber, contributor, please consider becoming a patron of Luqman Nation. You can find us on Patreon under Luqman Nation, LuqManNation. If you can't do monthly contributions, we understand. Anything that you can help us with to continue doing this work, to continue covering events that we like to go to, not just locally, but across the country, because we like to travel to conferences and show you the work that people are doing out in the streets. A one-time contribution through PayPal or GoFundMe is greatly appreciated and will go a long way in Luqman Nation.
And the one thing I wanted to say is when we do go there, we're representing you guys.
Absolutely.
Because we do these things with you guys in mind, because we do want to make sure that Luqman Nation is in the house.
Absolutely. If you can't do financial contributions, we understand that, because we understand being broke. Then what you can do for us, what you can do for us is to share our videos, like our page, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. We're not on Twitter as much as we should be. Twitter's kind of a cesspool. We're a little bit too old for that foolishness. But we do have a Twitter account that we occasionally post stuff to. And like us on Facebook. Listen, y'all, thanks so much for joining us tonight here on Live in Coffee, Current Events and Politics in Luqman Nation. We love having you in our studio every week, and we really hope that you enjoy the content that we bring you. So, until we see you again, be really, really good to each other. And as always, peace.
Yeah.